Let's talk about one of the biggest paradoxes in modern IT. You absolutely need the nonstop innovation that you get from the public cloud, right? But at the same time, some of your most critical apps have to stay put in your own data center. Today, we're going to look at the solution that bridges these two worlds.
So this is the question, isn't it? It's a situation so many of you are probably dealing with. You see all the incredible services, the massive scale, and the AI capabilities just waiting for you in Azure, but certain applications, well, they just can't make that leap. So what's really holding them back?
Well, it almost always boils down to these three big non-negotiables. First, you might have really strict data residency laws you have to comply with. Or maybe your applications demand that single-digit millisecond latency that, let's be honest, the public cloud just can't always guarantee. Or, you might just need direct local control over your infrastructure for your own operational reasons. These are the realities that keep some workloads firmly planted on-prem. And what this creates is something we can call an innovation gap. See, when you've got one foot in the public cloud and the other in your own data center, you often wind up with two totally separate environments to manage. That means two sets of tools and two different ways of doing things. And this complexity, it doesn't just cause headaches, it actively slows you down. I want you to think of it like this. The public cloud is one shore, and it is full of all these amazing resources. Your on-prem data center is the other shore, and that's where your essential, absolutely grounded applications live. The challenge has always been, how do you build a strong, seamless bridge between them? A bridge that doesn't force you to compromise on security, performance, or control. Well, that is exactly where Azure Local comes into the picture. It is designed to be that bridge. This is Microsoft's solution for truly extending the Azure cloud directly into your own infrastructure, creating one truly consistent hybrid environment. The most important word in this whole definition is extension. See, Azure Local isn't some separate product you have to learn. It's a true extension of Azure itself. What that means is you can run your applications locally on your own hardware, but, and this is the really crucial part, you manage it all from that single Azure control plane you already know and use. Okay, so a quick but really important note here, especially for those of you who've been following this space for a while. If you're sitting there thinking, hey, this sounds a whole lot like Azure Stack HCI, well, you're absolutely right. Microsoft has integrated Azure Stack HCI into this broader Azure Local solution. So what you're really looking at is the next evolution of that trusted platform. So how does all this magic actually work under the hood? You might be expecting some super complex, futuristic stack of brand new technology. But the real genius here is that Azure Local Sherpa is built on a foundation of proven, familiar components that, frankly, many of us IT pros have been working with for years. We are talking about the absolute core components of a modern Windows Server data center. We've got Hyper-V for virtualization, Storage Spaces Direct for amazing software-defined storage, and of course, Windows Server failover clustering for high availability. This isn't about learning a whole new stack from scratch. It's about leveraging the skills your team already has. And here's kind of how those pieces all come together. It all starts at the bottom with validated hardware from trusted partners. Then, on top of that, you run the specialized Azure Stack HCI operating system. That's what powers your local compute and storage. And the final, almost magical piece is Azure Arc, which projects all of your on-prem resources right into the Azure portal, giving you that truly unified management experience. All right, the technology is really cool, but what does it actually do for your business? Why should you care? This is where we get into the practical benefits and the real-world use cases that make this so compelling. First off, you get absolutely top-tier virtualization performance. The cost model completely flips from a huge upfront capital expense to a much more manageable monthly operational expense right through your Azure subscription. It's incredibly familiar for your existing server admins, which slashes training time, and you get total flexibility to manage it from the cloud through the Azure portal or with the on-prem tools you already use, like Windows Admin Center and PowerShell. So where does this really shine? Let's look at some powerful scenarios. You could run Azure Virtual Desktop on-prem for users who need that super low latency access to local data. You can deploy Azure Kubernetes Service for all your modern containerized apps. It's a fantastic platform for highly available SQL Server clusters. Oh, and for your remote and branch offices, you can deploy these small, really cost-effective 2-node clusters to provide resilient infrastructure right at the edge. Okay, this all sounds great, but you're probably wondering, how hard is it to get started? Well, the path to deployment is surprisingly straightforward and accessible.
Let's break down what you actually need to begin. The prerequisites are really simple. First, you need validated hardware, which you can find in the Azure Local Catalog from vendors you already know, like Dell, HPE, and Lenovo. Naturally, you'll need an Azure subscription for billing and management. You'll also need your standard OS licenses for your virtual machines. And, this is a key one, each machine needs to connect to Azure over the internet at least once every 30 days, just to stay in sync. And here's the high-level game plan. You start by prepping your existing Active Directory. Simple enough. Then you install the Azure Stack HCI operating system on each of your physical servers. Next, and this is where it gets cool, you register each of those servers with Azure Arc to make them visible right inside the Azure portal. And from there, you can actually drive the final cluster deployment right from the portal itself, treating your on-prem hardware just like another Azure resource. So I'll leave you with this question to think about. When you truly bridge that gap between your on-premises world and the cloud, what new possibilities open up for your organization? What are the innovations you could finally unlock by having the absolute best of both worlds, right where you need them most?